So you have a lot of Senate Republicans coming out. We're going to just show some on screen, Isaac, all saying, I talked to him, I talked to him, I talked to him for 20 minutes, I talked to him for 45 minutes. We're hearing these pundits talk not just about his potential health, but what they think the issue is, a special election deadline.
Okay, so it is now day 27 of Mitch McConnell's hospitalization. I guess we should call it that, but in reality, it is day 27 of Mitch McConnell's disappearance. And we now have this new video that was taken by a neighbor of McConnell being placed into an ambulance, completely unresponsive, on June the 14th, the day when he reportedly went into cardiac arrest at his home in Washington. And this does not look good. And nobody knows the senator's condition, including the president.
No, I have no idea. I have no idea how he's doing.
This story at this point just totally reeks of a cover-up or something else going on at the very least. And I'm not going to criticize the Joe Biden health cover-up for the last 4 years and pretend this isn't happening just because Mitch McConnell happens to be a Republican. I don't care. Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett is also on the Foreign Affairs Committee, which is relevant here because just days after McConnell went to the hospital, his wife, Elaine Chao, flew to China to meet with the Chinese vice president. Congressman, great to see you. What do you think is going on here?
Well, I think her ties to China have been suspect for a long time in the transportation world, and serving on transportation. That always raised an eyebrow for me. But nothing happens in this town by accident. Of course, I'm in Tennessee. Things happen by accident down here, but nothing in Washington ever happens by accident. It's just it's a cover-up on top of a cover-up, and that's why nobody trusts what's going on in Washington. This whole thing is a farce. I think a lot of people have some ideas about what's going on. There's a timeline of elections when they would occur, and you're right. How can you be critical of Joe Biden wandering around the White House, not knowing, looking for the soft-serve ice cream machine for 4 years when you can't be critical of this? So yeah. It's in our own party. But it goes, and that proves my point about the deep state. This town is Washington D.C. is just a large man-made sewer, and we rarely stir it. We just let it sit there and stink, and we don't drain it. And this is what continues to happen time and time again. And
so you think that we're
that's why we need term limits. We need term limits, but they're never going to pass. So. And Reagan said maybe we don't need term limits for politicians. We need them for staff. We had a House member, a Republican House member who chaired the Appropriations Committee. I remember I asked her one time in our conference meeting. I said, "How much does this bill cost?" And she said, "I don't know. Next question." I go, "No, wait a minute. How much does this thing cost?" Oh, leadership. They came, "Man, you can't be asking questions like that." I go, "What the heck are you talking about? I come from Tennessee. We balance the budget in Tennessee. We manage our money."
That's the only question to be asking. So just to be clear, you think there's a cover-up happening right now? You think something's going on with Mitch McConnell and this is being covered up?
I do. And you're never going to get the right answer. I mean, you've got staffers. Because look, staff still wants to be employed. They run these big offices. We need to term limit them.
Do you think Mitch McConnell, there are reports that he's a vegetable, that he's hooked up to machines and that those machines are keeping him alive. Do you give those, do you lend any credibility to reporting like that?
I sure do. But there's also legitimate people saying they talked to him on the phone. Were they talking to him on the phone? I don't know. I just think this thing just stinks. And it's Washington, D.C. We'll move on to the next bright, shiny object. We all want our pizzas in 30 minutes or less, and that's about our dadgum attention span. We'll move on to something else because they know his time's limited regardless, whether on this earth or in Washington.
Yeah.
Because Andy Barr will take his position, obviously.
All right. I want to ask you, we had this whistleblower on, Chris Newby, last night. She's a tick whistleblower, wrote a book about what's going on. She talked about alpha-gal syndrome, and she says that it is making people allergic to meat and that it is a deliberate bioweapon. Take a look.
With the Lone Star releases, which were non-native tick for that area, I feel like that was unintentional consequences of an uncontrolled, irresponsible military experiment.
Okay, so military experiment. Then you have the Bill Gates angle. He invested millions of dollars in genetically modified ticks. Then he invested millions of dollars in synthetic meat. Now we have ticks that make you allergic to eating meat. Do you think that's just a coincidence, Congressman?
Again, I'm probably the wrong person to ask this because, I lean towards the conspiracies, but to me, that's just too much. You have a corporation mindset that creates a computer, and then they create a virus, and then they're the ones that create the problem to solve the thing you got to buy from them to fix it. It's shades of COVID right there to me.
You told Joe Rogan to watch Gates on this. What'd you mean by that?
When I was a mayor, I wrote the senator who was in charge of all this, U.S. senator of this, because I saw an influx of Asian type animals that we're having trouble with. Everything you see is that we have trouble with our ecosystems from Asia. And they have their 1,000-year plan. And again, our attention span's about 30 seconds.
Right.
And that tick right there, I pulled a tick off one of our horses last night, and I took a picture of it. It's very similar to that. And that bothers me that we're not paying attention.
Okay. That is the Lone Star tick, which carries alpha-gal syndrome. Used to be a tiny percentage of these ticks. Now it's almost 25%. That can't be a coincidence. A lot of coincidences.
No coincidence.
Tonight. Congressman Tim Burchett, good to see you. Have a great weekend. We appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for calling attention to this stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll keep doing it, too.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.